about national issues, or is it about local issues? What do you put your loss of a seat down to?
Well, I think national issues are always the most important factor, I think, in any seat. Sometimes there are some strong local ones, but I mean, Corby is a classic Labour Tory marginal seat. It's a seat that we can win. We're very hopeful, but no party can win a seat unless its supporters actually get along to the polls.
Okay. It was hoped that these roles would attract strong, independent characters. Do you think that will be achieved?
There's a variety of candidates, but I think it's not so much about the individual personality of the candidates. I think the big issue at these police commissioner elections is police numbers, because the government is cutting police numbers across the country. Thousands lost nationally, between 80 and 90 in my county of Suffolk alone. So I think people have a choice. If they think that it's right to cut police numbers, they'll go and vote Conservative or Liberal Democrat. If they think that's wrong, then it's important that they send a strong message to the government and go and vote for Labour police commissioners, because Labour police commissioners will stand up to the government on this. They will demand better police numbers. The Conservative and Liberal Democrat police commissioners will toe the line.
Let's talk about the practicalities of doing this job. In the East, we've got some figures. 200.
Yes. Can I just interrupt on the practicalities of Bob putting forward a platform which is not supported by the Labour Party in Parliament? You've got Yvette Cooper saying that they would have cut by 12%. You've got David Hanson saying that he supports the changes to overtime and shift patterns. You've got Lord Stevens, who chaired Labour's review, saying there was no money. Where is this going to come from? It's one thing in a studio, it's quite another in Westminster.
Alistair, the 12% was what the Independent Police Inspectorate said you could cut by without affecting frontline police numbers. You're cutting by 20%.
I just want to get back to this question. In the East, £219 million worth of savings to be made in our police forces by 2015. Are we asking the police and crime commissioners to, in effect, do an impossible job? They're all talking about putting more officers on the beat.
It's a difficult job to do from the background we've just been speaking about, where any incoming government in 2010 would have known that there were going to be reductions to the police budget, but it's how you do it. The Inspector of Constabulary said in July that the forces have responded well to the pressures of austerity. And as you see in Bedfordshire, even though numbers of police officers have dropped, because of the way the Chief Constable has deployed them, he's been able to keep people in neighbouring policing roles and cut crime. So it's how you do it from a background we all have to accept is common.
All right, more on this in the next couple of weeks. Do you deny that these figures are good news, Bob Blizzard?
Well, it's a relief that the economy is not continuing to shrink. But, I mean, we've been calling, and Ed Balls has been arguing, for a stimulus to get the economy growing again. Now, in this last quarter, we've had a stimulus, but it's not a stimulus put in place by George Osborne. It is the stimulus that we heard of the Olympics. Now, I hope the government learns from that and changes course and starts to stimulate the economy, because it's growth that can bring down the deficit and pay back debt better than anything else.
Michael Blizzard, Alistair Burt there talking about getting the balance right. What would Labour be doing to try and get the balance right?
Well, putting more emphasis on growth. I mean, all we've had really from this government so far is austerity, cuts and cuts. And that's why growth in this country has been lower than most of the major economies in mainland Europe. That's why we're one of only 2 countries in the top 20 economies of the world that's had this double dip recession. Yes, you've got to actually bring down expenditure gradually, a bit by bit. But if you can get that stimulus in the economy, that's how you recover.